time. Let's speak now to Dr. Kenneth Kambona. He is a development consultant on matters devolution, development and accountability amidst all the developments in the country. Dr. Kambona, many thanks for joining us here on Bottomline Africa. Let's begin with the development happening at the Senate. For the 10th time, the Senate will today be deliberating on a proposed change to the law to allow counties to receive at least 50% of the 361 billion shillings as the impasse continues. Your thoughts on perhaps what we expect this afternoon as a country?
Thanks, Michelle, for having me. And before we get into the point you've just raised, I just wanted to thank you that when I was in Djibouti during the lockdown, you, KTN, and you in particular, you served as my link to home, so I could know that everything is still okay. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, thanks. I'm now back home, and yeah, it's good to have you again. So now, getting to the point, yeah, I think the Senate, this is the 10th time, and I'm not surprised that it is the 10th time, because this is the way the country has been segmented. In many ways, Kenya is, I know politics is about interest, and therefore, you fight for the interests of your people. But at the end of the day, there is the common good that we must look at. And look at this. This is now happening because we've not really deliberated to see how do we push Kenya as a country forward, not maybe a section of Kenya as pushing a section of Kenya forward. And so, yes, giving 50%, yeah, at least that's a firefighting mechanism. We want things to move on at the county level. But I think this has been an eye-opener to all of us, both the citizenry and the leaders, that people are now getting aware that, yeah, it's about what is in it for me. And therefore, if you're deliberating on that, please be clear that, in this part of the country, whether it's northeastern or in Nyanza or in the coast or central, you must represent me in the best way that I've deemed fit. That's why I voted you in.
Earlier today, when he was meeting a delegation from Kajiado County, and of course the revenue sharing bill also came up. And one of the issues that have long plagued Kenya, historically, is the issues of marginalization of communities, and that has also been seen in this revenue sharing formula, where communities that have initially been deemed as marginalized are even losing more money, and they say they need more money to be up to par with the rest of the developed counties. In terms of cementing that winners and losers and marginalized communities, how can we go about it as a country?
Yeah, I think we've always discussed this. Maybe this is now coming more into the limelight because of the very serious political undertones right now in the country. But we've always had, specialized stimulus, funds for certain counties. You have, the marginalized countries have always had their share of funds that are supposed to stimulate development in those countries as a result of the historical marginalization. And so I think this is my take on this. We have not quite thought about, we've always been thinking about these things from a political perspective. So which region supports which party, for instance. But we've never looked at, what about the people there? Is it about one man, one vote, one man, one shilling, or is it about the size or geographical area that you represent? Now, either way, the ultimate objective is to develop Kenya. So if you want to develop Kenya, this should have been addressed long before it came to the balloting or voting at the Senate, in the sense that, so what is the special consideration that, for instance, Wajir should be given? What about Turkana? What about Central Province? What about, Kajiado, like you correctly mentioned? So we are now fighting in the dark, because we are trying to appease political, alienations. But in my view, I think every part of Kenya should be developed, and it might not be the same formula of one man, one shilling. It could be both, a hybrid of both, where the populations are are more, you must address that. Where the populations are few, yet the resources are more that the country can exploit. Yeah, why don't we develop that so that we have a bigger cake for every Kenyan? So that's where we are missing it. We are looking at it in terms of the very narrow political alienations that are currently in play. So I think the best thing to do right now is let's do the 50%, disbursement or allocation that has been done, but then look through and then say what, and you just talked about it, development. Development can be brought about by very many mechanisms. One could be one man, 1 shilling. Another one could be from the geographical perspective. So long as these are well laid out with deliverables that can show that, yeah, if we invest this amount of money in Northeastern, we will get, or in Wajir, Mandera, we will get this level of development by the time, by maybe 10 years or 5 years. The same would happen to, let's say, Central, if we invest the 1 man, 1 shilling, theory or model there. So we can't have the twin models that are being discussed right now. It doesn't necessarily have to be one, prescribed model for every area. All we need to do, just to add one last thing, is to have political buy-in. Have the people of Northeastern talked? Have we listened to them enough so that we know exactly, what we should do for them? Maybe not. Public participation has been very minimal on this. And this subject, yeah.
Right, and even as the Senate, discusses that revenue sharing formula, I mean, it's been 10 years already since, the 2010 Constitution. Let's talk about the money that has already been sent to the counties and the development we've seen from these counties with that money that has already been sent in the last 10 years. Because as we speak, we already have 2 governors who are in court for graft-related charges. Migori Governor Kothobadu, we have Tharaka-Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki as well, and several other governors who have allegations of graft on their heads. There's been allegations of misappropriation of funds in these counties as well. So many say it doesn't make sense to allocate more funds when it cannot account for the funds that have already been disbursed. How do we bridge that gap?
Yeah. So 2 things I would say on that. Number 1, the first thing is the kind of leadership that we got. I think it was some kind of we were betting or trying to hedge on people who may not, all of them may not have had some kind of administrative or development or leadership credentials, the right leadership credentials. So then we have ended up the way we've ended up, with an assortment of leaders being involved in all shades of misappropriations, corruption, and even unfortunately, issues that the leaders should not involve in, murders and such things that are really, you don't want to relate to a leader whom you elected, So at that point, we missed it. That's where the rain started beating us, where we got the right. But now we are where we are. So what do? All that money has been disbursed. One thing I would go, I would support the governors in the sense that this money is never flowing the way it should flow, the budget, the delays and what have you. But having said that, I think it happens in any organization, any institution that you may not have the resources you want at the time you want them. But when you get them, and that brings home your point, the clear word has been mismanagement. Mismanagement to the level that I don't see any county that has not been tainted by a level of mismanagement. And this, again, still borders on, because they say the buck stops with the governor. You cannot say that, oh, my officer was involved in this. No. If I'm a governor, if I'm a leader, I must know that, at the end of the day, I'm accountable to my people, the people who elected me. It's not my officer. So the mismanagement has been as a result of that. And therefore, we've had development years, but we've also had, we could have done better. And this is because of the 2 reasons I've said, corruption and then lack of accountability and leadership, both fiscal and administrative, in carrying the counties forward. So, yeah, that's where we are, the problem we have.
All right, many thanks, Dr. Kambona. Unfortunately, we are short of time, but there is development consultant Dr. Kenneth Kambona speaking to us on matters devolution, development, and most importantly, accountability. In other news, the fallout between Deputy